Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Trade Talks Live. We are coming to you from the Punta Cana Airport in the Dominican Republic. We had to come out a little early to make sure that we had time to do this. So, man, we decided, look, we're going to jump in here and try it. I do not know how long it's going to work. I don't know how well it's going to work. We're literally on our cellular connection, and I know you can see the shoulder right here next to me. Squirt, how you doing today?
Man, I'm doing wonderful. It's been a great morning, getting in here, getting set up early. That way we can be live. Uh, like you said, we're on cellular connection, so there's no telling how long this is going to last. Hopefully, all the way through the whole show. If not, we will try to get back in here if one of us disconnects or the other. But happy Friday, everybody.
And it's funny because we've been in the Dominican Republic for a week now, learning YouTube, working on YouTube. And I say that we flew in Sunday, so it hadn't been quite a full week. But we're headed back from here to Orlando, where I go get on a marketing cruise. So as much fun as we've had going live from the Dominican Republic, now I get to try to go live from a cruise ship every day. So and Randy won't be there, so it's gonna be me by myself. So it's gonna be interesting, but we're gonna try to get through this today, see how we can do, and then hopefully I can get through it next week from the cruise ship. But Randy will be back in the studio with Colton, so hopefully things will go well. I'd love to find out where y'all are from. So if you'll put your in the deal where you're from and what you do, love to hear from y'all just to see what's going on. But Randy, first of all, we're gonna start out talking about the national news like we do all the time. And me and you've been talking a lot here lately about the investment in the water structure in New York, different places like that. But the federal government is releasing a lot of money to help rebuild the water infrastructure in the United States. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so the historic investment in water infrastructure.
Congress has recently passed a $15 billion investment in the water infrastructure, focusing on replacing lead pipes and improving wastewater systems. The key impacts that this is going to have is it's going to increase demand for plumbers specializing in municipal and industrial systems. Uh, there's a lot of new projects in some major cities like Chicago and Detroit. And those are huge cities. We know those pipes have been there for a long time. You go in and retrofit all that in place. It's going to be huge projects. It's going to offer a lot of jobs. Okay, and that's why I put that in there, Colton. So here's the deal: is and see, I've got you lost, but Randy's still showing he was on there. So here's the deal: Congress recently passed a $15 billion investment in water infrastructure, focusing on replacing lead pipes and improving the wastewater systems. Now, what that's going to impact is the increased demand for plumbers specializing in municipal and industrial systems, new projects in major cities like Chicago and Detroit. And the neat thing about that is this has been needed for a while, guys. So, they're talking about Detroit. Why not get outside of Detroit, go to Flint? Just saying. And I know y'all done a lot of stuff there, so things are getting better. But the water supply across the country is something that we all need to be looking at and checking into the companies that are working on projects like that to see either how we can help them, support them, or whatever. If you look at a company that needs 100 new people to work on the public water supply, maybe they're not able to work on other things that they've got or other things coming up. So it's a good time to build relationships and possibly get in with these other companies just to see what you can do. So it may be worth checking into. And then how can tradespeople prepare for those opportunities? Pursue training in trenchless water technology and attend local contractor networking events to connect with municipalities. You got to think about it. These municipalities are trying to improve their infrastructure. And the way that we do that, the way that it helps tradespeople, is to get involved with those municipalities and the larger companies that are possibly going to be doing things to try to make that better. And without Squirt talking, I'm probably going to be stopping and drinking a lot of water. So figure out how you get involved with them. Learn what you can about trenchless technology. When I read this, one of the first things that went through my mind too is the robotic cameras. And guys, they're expensive. I get it. But imagine if you know how to run one of those cameras, you know how to operate one of those cameras, and being able to get in there to look and inspect these municipal water lines, sewer lines, anything at all like that, this could be a great opportunity for you. So it is something worth looking at. I'm looking over here at Squirt. He is trying to get greatest service in the world here. I didn't even check to see if there's a Wi-Fi, public Wi-Fi here. But guys, what can you do? And if you've got any comments, you got any thoughts, put them in here. I'd love to hear from you just to see what you got to say. The next thing we'll talk about is website review, and this one is Delta Faucets. Now, we've done stuff with Delta in the past. They're a leader in innovative plumbing fixtures, offering tools and resources tailored for professionals. But their pro resources section, they've got detailed installation guides and videos. Now, I was used in a Darman video, and I think that's funny because at the time I really didn't even know who Darman was. But Darman used me in the video. He had some young kid going in to do plumbing on a house, and this kid shows up, and this old man's giving him a hard time, but he walks him back into the bathroom, and the old man comes in a little bit, and the guy's literally watching a video how to repair the toilet, and it just so happened to be me. So I thought that was hilarious. But the funny thing about it is we do it all the time. Now, if you're going to watch a video, whether it's Delta, whether it's somebody else, do you want to do it right there in the house? Do you want to do it in the bathroom? Do you want to do it in front of the customer? Or do you maybe want to step out to your van, to your truck, look and see what it tells you? Maybe take some screenshots. That way you can go back inside and you'll know exactly where you're at and what you're doing. But it could be something, that installation guides and videos is something the customer probably doesn't want to see you doing. That doesn't help them feel all warm and fuzzy. It literally makes them wonder, hey, do you know what you're doing? So something worth thinking about. But I love the fact that they're there, and it looks like we've got Squirt back. So Squirt, we're actually talking about the Delta faucets, and we've talked about the fact that they're pro resources. They've got detailed installation guides and videos. Now let's talk about the eco-friendly options.
Oh yeah. So they've got a lot of water efficient fixtures designed to meet LEED certifications. We've been talking about LEED all week throughout this week because that's where we're headed to, guys. Is to do the best we can in our projects and install with the best materials. And Delta is trying to meet the requirements that LEED certifications are requiring for buildings, which is a wonderful thing. But then also, like one of the coolest things that I found on that website is their design tools. Because they have some online configurators for creating customized fixture packages for your clients. And being able to do that and go out and build exactly what it is that you're needing for your clients to give them that options and build up that special order, bulking everything together, it's going to be an amazing thing to help you and your customers. Uh, but then another thing, how, okay. Another thing that plumbers can do to enhance their business is highlight water efficient products to clients and streamline installations with Delta's comprehensive guides. Uh, this is something that we can do. It looks like we might have lost Roger there for a minute. We'll work on getting back in. I hooked up to the airport Wi-Fi, so we'll see if that holds up a little better. And that's what he's going to try to get on and doing. Uh, but guys, a lot of these manufacturers and their websites, if you're not getting in there and actually kind of taking a look in your trade and the manufacturers, the things that y'all use in your different spaces, get on there and check out their websites and see the different tools and stuff that they offer nowadays. Because everything is growing leaps and bounds, and AI, things like that are starting to come into play. And that's just going to make the tools even better for us to use. And that's where we're headed. Uh, but yeah, Delta's a great one. And kind of get moving on here to some business growth and the value of offering warranties. This is something that I actually do on my own in Link Pro. We offer warranties on our work, on our equipment. Uh, and if you're not offering a warranty on your work, if you start, that's something that can set you apart from your competitors. Not everybody does that, but if you're small, you're starting out, and you want to start your own thing, get out there and offer warranties on your work. Back up the work that you're putting in. And train your guys right so that you know that they're doing right. Have the right procedures, and it'll be a good thing. Uh, but it can also boost client trust and drive repeat business. And then like also they're going to tell that to their friends and family also, especially because there's not too many out there that do it. It's becoming a more regular thing, I guess. But if you're small starting, it's a great thing to do because you've got to earn the trust of your customers, and that's a good way to get it going. Uh, but some of the key benefits or differentiates your business from competitors, just like I was saying, helps you stand apart. It also encourages some higher ticket sales with peace of mind for that client. If you're specializing in whole home water filtrations or things like that, it can be a big ticket item for all the labor and everything. But if you provide a warranty on that work, that's going to help that customer feel better about the job that you're going to do and the work that you're going to put in their home. And it just makes you more reliable. Uh, it also reduces disputes with clearly outlined terms. Whenever you've got your warranty, you spell it out, you lay it out, what all is included, what it doesn't cover, things like this. But have all that documented and let them know, have it clear with the customer whenever you first start the warranty so that they know exactly what is included and what isn't. And then you won't have any of those major arguments later. Uh, but then, like, one of the best ways to structure it, you can offer limited warranties, like 1 to 2 years on your labor, and longer warranties for 5 to 10 years for higher quality parts and systems. Like we were talking Delta faucets earlier, if you put one of those in there, you can probably warranty it a little bit longer because you know that you're actually picking the quality in and you're not just going with some cheap installations of things. But warranties are a super important thing, and it helps set that customer at ease. And guys, we are live here from the Dominican Republic, the Punta Cana Airport. So our connection speeds here are having some issues. Just so that y'all know, Roger's still trying to get connected over here. We'll see what happens. Uh, but like, also check in your area with your trade, things like that. See what types of warranties your competitors are offering, if they are offering any. You can kind of take a look at that. I hope everything can hear me clear now. Um, Looks like we were having a little bit of issues earlier. Just kind of looking through the comments here real quick. Uh, and another good one is service work. Um, Managing emergency calls. Like, emergency plumbing calls can be chaotic, but they're often highly profitable if you manage effectively. Uh, some people offer 24-hour service, some people don't. If you do, though, then you want to have a special hotline for that after hour service. or an automated scheduling system. Uh, have however many guys on call that you need for your area for whatever your trade is. Because today we're talking plumbing more than anything. Uh, you can also charge a flat emergency rate if you want to simplify billing and reduce disputes between the customers. Because a lot of people don't mind paying that extra fee to have you show up in the middle of the night to help them get out of some emergency in their home. It can be huge. Looks like we kind of got Roger back there. Uh, kind of talking about service work right now. Got just a little ahead. I did have a question though, back on the warranties. Was is that something that y'all offered on y'all's installations, labor and equipment whenever you had a company yourself?
Number one, we always offered warranties. The warranties are something that you can offer that's going to set yourself apart from anybody else. And the reason that it's so important is a lot of companies don't. But we would literally, I used to make sure that I had the best people and we trained them very well. And we would literally offer a lifetime warranty on the work, on the service, on the labor. Now, if we did a big job and their foundation work messed up and it broke something, I couldn't guarantee that. And I remember one of the big things, and you need to make sure that when you're doing stuff like that, you always have all your exclusions and things like that in your contract. We had someone reach out to us one day and they said, hey, y'all fixed our sewer about 6 months ago and it's broken again. Y'all need to come back and fix it. So we said, well, it wasn't broken when we fixed it. We know we backfilled. So we went out and looked at it and there were places that it was doing this. Well, whenever we got there, we could tell they had just had foundation work done. And in our exclusions, it literally said, this work is not guaranteed if you have foundation work done. Now, we had talked to them before we did the plumbing work and told them, you want to get the foundation work done before we do anything. And instead, they listened to the foundation company that said, no, let us get in here first. And, or let the plumber, wait, how this work? They literally said, let the plumber get in first, then we'll go in and fix it. But what they don't understand is that when they start jacking it up, they put a stress on that plumbing again. So it's not a good way to do it. So, it's always smart to make sure that you do talk to the plumber, talk to the foundation company, man, see which one sounds like they know what they're talking about, and then go from there. But to me, warranties are something you want to do on every single job you've got, and you want to brag about it, you want to talk about it, but then also tell them on the materials and equipment and stuff like that, whatever the manufacturer's warranty is, we'll help back that up. So, you know, normally you can talk to the manufacturer if they have a problem with something like a water heater, they'll help you when it comes to going in and doing the work, except for a company called Plumber's Choice, the water filtration company system. They suck. They flat out told us, hey, uh, keep trying to do this, keep trying to do this, keep trying to do this. We spent about 50, 60 hours on the job. We ended up jerking that product out and throwing it away and installed a different brand. Actually, yeah, just be careful too of the manufacturer you deal with. If it's one like Plumber's Choice, they suck.
Yeah, I think it's important kind of to know the products that you're selling and call and talk to some of those manufacturers and see how that customer service is so that you know for your customers that you're selling the right products, that they're going to back you up and you're going to back them up on these products that you're installing. I love that.
Now, and one thing too, after hours, setting up stuff like that to have things automated, and I love the automated scheduling, that way you don't have to have anybody there. And, we're doing things with Go High Level, and if y'all want to learn more about it, let me know. But if somebody reaches out to you in the middle of the night, they can text or they can even call and they'll automatically get a text back and say, hey, I don't have anybody on the phones right now. What kind of problem do you have? Is it an emergency? And it will chat with them to figure out, does somebody need to talk to them right now, or is this something that can probably wait till in the morning? And man, things like that are phenomenal. But that's huge. One other thing that I love is charging a flat emergency rate. And we used to tell people, because we were answering the phone, we'd literally tell people, look, There's an emergency call of $250 because I've got to get a plumber up, get him out of bed, take him away from his family, and get him over to your house. If you can wait till 7 in the morning, 8 in the morning, whatever time we were starting, if you can wait till then, we can help you out. We can get you on the schedule as soon as we can. Is that okay? And a lot of people, most people, to be honest, to save $250 or $300, they'd be like, yeah, we can wait. Okay. That was always big. And then you want to make sure that your vans are stocked and you've got a stocked emergency room toolkit for things that happen all the time, like burst pipes, emergency repairs, sewer machines. You want to make sure that whichever plumber you have on call, he's got the equipment, the tools, and things like that to do the job.
Yeah, and I'm sure we're having a lot of bursting pipes going on at home right now. I know we're here in Dominican right now, but I know it's freezing, and that's what we're headed back to. So it's going to be an interesting trip back home. Uh, but having everything on the van, like he said, to fix all these issues that you know are going to come. Like we know that winter season, there's going to be burst pipes. Go ahead and get extra pipe, extra couplings, and have things like that ready on the go, and it'll be a good time.
Yeah,
Uh,
and another big deal is to make sure that the staff is trained. I remember the first time I was on call, there was no training. They just gave me the bat phone. I have my truck. It was stocked really well. I get a call at like midnight. A lady says, look, my tub's running. Well, you get over there and it's dripping, and you can tell by looking at it, it's been dripping for about 10 years. But she decided right now, I need this fixed. I go to tear all this apart, and I don't have the parts to fix it. So I wasn't even able to turn her water back on till the next morning. But after about 2 hours of trying anything and everything I could, I said, ma'am, look, I'm going to literally have to come back in the morning when I can get the parts. And she's like, that's fine. And I'm like, well, why did you schedule it in the middle of the night? And she says, because you answered the phone and said, okay. So
wow.
you need to make sure you train people and do things like that. It really is a big deal. And I'm going to let you talk about this next topic, the materials, equipment, and technology. Push to connect plumbing fittings. Really?
And hey, I've done some research. We know more and more people use this because it's becoming more and more easy to grab off the shelf. Most of the big box stores in your area are going to have them, and most of your customers are going to try to use it to make the repairs themselves. Now, you've kind of gone to some test facilities before and kind of seen these things, and we've tested them in our own blast chamber to kind of see the pressures that these do hold. Like, I kind of see a place for them. I don't want to use them on every installation. If that ever tries to get pushed, I'm gonna hate that for sure. Uh, but they do have their places. Like I love push to connect caps, things like that, especially for testing, because you can put a cap on and remove it really easily, and go back into the special fixture. And that's a neat thing because you don't have to solder it, cut the cap off, and have all that waste. You can reuse that cap as many times until it's wore out, and then get another one. So being able to do that is kind of a nice thing. It is a faster installation, so that's kind of why a lot of homeowners, things like that, DIYers lean to it because they don't have to learn solder or threading, things like that, and which you've got to have specialty tools for. But it's also compatible with multiple pipe materials, including copper, PEX, CPVC. Like, how many things out there can actually connect to all those things? Not a lot. So it's kind of cool that there's so many multiple uses to them for some of the different materials. Uh, they're kind of ideal for some tight spaces. If you get in somewhere that you can't really get to, you can't make the press fittings or something. You don't have the right little adapters to get in the copper. Push to connect can help you. I do not like to put it in any spot that you cannot access later. You want them to be accessible so that if you ever do have any issues or anything with them, you can easily get to them, see those problems, and get in there and get that fixed. Uh, but question for you is, do you really think these things can be feasible? Are they worth the prices that they're selling them for?
Yeah, and here's my thing. And I'm not going to say I've never used them. We used to have them for emergency repairs out at the airport. When we had a water control box to where if there was a problem, there was an emergency, we had a way to catch that water get rid of that water, contain that water, but also shut a valve, tap a line to where we can get water back on. So I'm not going to say we've never used them. I think there's a time and a place for them. And it's really funny because, I did a sponsorship with a Push to Connect brand. And, they wanted me, of course, because I used to talk so bad about shark bites. But one of the things that, the president of the company at the time said, he said, Roger, look, shark bite's not a bad company. He said they've got bad marketing and they don't teach people the right way to install it each and every time. And man, as soon as he said that, I was like, wow. So that's one of the things that, Randy talked about the blast chamber. Whenever we got back to town, we built a blast chamber and got a 10,000 PSI hydrostatic pump. And I mean, man, y'all have seen it. We blow some stuff up. The cool thing about it is the pressures that Push to Connect fittings will hold up to. We have seen it hold up to, some of them we've seen them hold up into the thousands of PSIs. And guys, here's the deal. Your city water is never going to get that high. If it does, we've got big problems. And there's going to be a lot of things rupture, like your fill valves on your toilets and stuff like that, before your pipe ever breaks. So nothing bad, but for quick repairs and retrofits, I think they're amazing. They can reduce labor costs. But Randy, I completely agree with what you said. These never go in the wall. They never go in confined spaces or spaces that you can't get access to. Anytime you install this, it needs to be in a very accessible place where you can look at it, see it, and talk about it. And that way, if it is leaking, man, you're able to take it out, replace it, change it, see what the problem is, whatever it is.
Awesome. That brings us to Leak Pro, has sponsored today's live stream. So we want to thank them for sure. It's it's a company that we took over and brought to be able to do more with the trades. Uh, I was a pipe fitter for 20 years. He's been a plumber forever, it feels like. Uh, but leak detection is one of the best equipments that we found. It's simple to use, and it's just the equipment, one wire to your headphones. The only control of the whole thing is a volume knob that adjusts the sound level. It's like Diaphones on steroids, and it's so easy to use. Main reason we used to lose plumbing jobs, leak detection, because we got to get this leak detection specialist out here to find it. Well, then you never get the call back, and you call the customer a few days later. It's like, oh hey, I was wondering if they made it out. Oh yeah, they came out and they fixed it. Guys, don't let that happen to you over and over. Do some research, do some studying, put the right equipment in your hands, and that's what Leak Pro's for. We also have a training center, so if you don't know anything about it, you can come out, get trained on site, where we teach you how to locate pipes, locate leaks, pinpoint the leak detection. We also do sewer isolation testing, things like that. And then we also help you work on the marketing and kind of looking into that side, because everything Roger's dealt with through the years with his plumbing company and marketing companies, and we try to help you in your business.
And my favorite thing about leak detection, Randy mentioned really the only controls are the volume knob on the headphones. For a safety issue, there's also a push button trigger. And that's one of the biggest things. I used to hate geophones because I would either my finger would slip off the hose or something. I'd move the puck and I'd hit the ground and it was like an explosion in my ear. So I love the fact that we do have the push button there for safety.
Yeah. And if you want to check out Leak Pro, go to www.leak-pro.com, or you can give me a call at 1-8888 Leak Pro.
Perfect. Now we're going to talk about MEP, mechanical, electrical, and plumbing. We're going to talk about coordinating the plumbing with the HVAC for efficiency. So seamless integration of plumbing and HVAC systems can improve energy efficiency and system performance. Look, if you want to be successful, we've got to work together, each and every trade out there. So collaborate during design to avoid conflicts in mechanical room layouts. Now, it's pretty good, the big projects that I was on, because the plumbers and the HVAC people work for the same company. But if you'll collaborate during design to avoid conflicts in mechanical room layouts, it makes it so much easier to do. And you can look at the hierarchy. Who needs in there first? Who needs in there later? If I've got a bunch of plumbing pipe and it goes in really low, and they've got a bunch of steel pipe and it goes in above it, I'm just making their job impossible. And then use shared duct or chases for combined air and water systems. Now, these are normally laid out on big jobs, but you want to make sure there too, you look at the hierarchy and see everything going in and who needs to go first. And then you want to implement the water to air heat exchange technologies for green buildings. And different stuff like this is huge because as you go in and build these buildings, it's always looking at how can you help each other, because if you're working together, everybody's going to be able to put their stuff in faster. And I think that that is really big on any project that you're doing, whether it's residential, whether it's commercial. But the bigger projects, the more you really want to focus on it to see what can you do to do things better. And Stuart, you've been in the design end, the estimating end, and things like that. What is the biggest challenge when coordinating the plumbing and the HVAC systems? I know with BIM and things like that, it makes it a lot easier. But still, when you're in the field, you can still have issues because BIM doesn't catch 100% all the time.
It doesn't. And, like some of the ductwork in these large buildings is humongous, okay? But there's also rules and regulations for each trade. They have to be at a certain spot or controlling certain ways, different spaces, things like that. So space constraint, space constraint is the buildings are only so big and we're always trying to make them a little bit smaller and squeeze just as much into them, if not more. Okay, because we're adding more technology, things like that. So there's a little more going into the buildings, but we want to try to cut that space down as short as we can for high rises, things like that. And that constrains everybody to fit in a tighter space. Like you were talking pipe chases. I was a pipe fitter for years, so I was in the same chase as duck guys almost all the time. Just about. Like we always tried to plan that and work it out well. And then I would talk to the HVAC guys and it's like, okay, do y'all want to get in here first? Do you want me to? Who wants to get in there first? Who wants to build the main frames? What type of framework are you building so that I can build mine off of that or whatever? And all that's part of the design phase and working with the guys together and making space for everybody.
Yeah. And let me ask you this: when you were an estimator, were you involved much with BIM?
Uh, I would like, there was one project, I bid it, we won it, everything. And then part of the contract, as the estimator that did it, when the BIM guys would get done, I would have to re-estimate what they drew and come up with the pricing for that to see how it plugged into the original budget and the original estimate. So I actually kind of worked pretty hand in hand with the BIM department for that one project. And it was a huge project, so it was really good. But I would go back there and talk to those guys occasionally because sometimes I wouldn't have enough drawn to get something. So I could actually go and work with those guys to give me something a little better to shoot out to the customer real quick to make sure that we were on the same page. And working with those guys was great.
I like that. Okay, so Lori McNeil says she can hear Roger but barely. Guys, can y'all hear me okay? And Colton, you can jump in there too. Brent Barnhart, how you doing, brother? Good to see you in here. Mark Ostrowski, how are you, sir? And then Jeff Hubbard. Man, I'm glad we did it yesterday. At least we know we got people in here. And guys, look, if y'all are in here and you've got a question, throw a queue up in front of it and jump in and say, hey, here's what's going on, here's what we're thinking and whatnot. Randy, the section we do every day is where's the work? And I love that work is coming back to the suburban areas. And that to me helps the smaller, and I don't want to say the chuck and a truck company, but just a smaller residential service company. I think that's big. What's your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I agree. Residential, like that's where I started originally as a teenager, was doing restaurants and pop-outs in residential communities, building neighborhoods. But being able to get in there and learn those type of roads, that helped open my mind to all the bigger projects and understand the actual basics. And being able to understand what's in your home also is an amazing thing being a homeowner later because you know how everything is built inside of it and getting to see that is just an amazing thing. I love that it's going back to a residential building. Like I said before, all these commercial projects, well, guess what? All those need workers and all those workers are going to need somewhere to live. So almost always as commercials going, there's more housing and, population's growing. So we're always needing more housing.
You know what's cool about it is, and I used to love it. And anybody that's ever heard of Neiman Marcus, I remember that. I'll tell you a quick cool story. I used to have a '59 Chevy Apache. The driver door didn't open. The fuel tank was clogged. It was horrible. So literally, about every 50 or 100 miles you drive, the fuel intake would get clogged up, and it died. I mean, it got no fuel to the engine. So what I did is that was my work truck. So I literally had a toolbox in the back bed and drove over to this house one day to go look at a remodel. And we had already pulled out the floor, and I'm there to start looking at the plumbing and lay it out. And I pulled up in front of the house, grabbed my toolbox, carried it up to the door, and this little old lady answers the door. I said, Miss Marcus, this is Roger Wakefield. I said, I'm with the name of the company. I said, I'm here to look at your bathroom. And the whole time I'm talking to her, she's like leaned up over my shoulder and she's back and forth looking around me. And she says, is that a 57 Chevy? And it was just primered, man. It was the ugliest truck. But I said, yes, ma'am, it is. She said, is it three on the tree? And I'm like, yes, ma'am. She said, you got the pedal start on the floor? And I said, yes, ma'am. Now remember, this lady is wearing a bathrobe. And literally, she says, can I drive it around the block? And I said, Miss Marcus, I said, look, I've got problems with my gas tank. It's liable to die on you. I said, I've had nothing but problems with this truck. And she said, you don't understand. My daddy had one of those when I was little, and I'm just asking you if I can drive it. I mean, how in the heck do you say no to that? So she literally she just I handed her the key, and I said, you want me to go with you? She says, oh no, I want to go by myself. And she goes out, she goes around the passenger side, climbs in, slides over into the driver's seat, fires it up, and I'm like, oh my God, she's really driving my truck. Now, this is Miss Marcus, whose husband owns or owns Neiman Marcus. And she takes off, and it takes her about 5 minutes. And I mean, I'm telling you, the whole time she's gone, I've got southern parts of my body that are puckered up tight. I'm wondering if she's going to make it back. But she comes pulling in, and when she gets out of that truck and comes walking up to the house, she looked like a little teenager just bopping up the sidewalk, and that lady could not have been any happier. So I thought that was cool, but remodeling her bathroom is what got us in the door to do that. And I thought that was just the neatest thing. So you never know what kind of conversations you're going to have, what kind of people you're going to meet. And I think that's just amazing. So here's the deal. If you are a plumber and you want to do bathroom remodels, kitchen remodels, anything like that, partner with local remodels and offer packages and package deals for multiple system upgrades. Guys, this can help keep you busy as a plumber, an HVAC technician, an electrician, whatever it is. Do anything and everything that you can to work with other trades and general contractors and help feed each other. And I promise you that can really help you out.
Yeah. And then another hot market in that, besides, your kitchen and bathroom models, is basement renovations.
Yeah.
That's becoming a huge thing. Or, you could be dealing with like the expert plumber and working on remote bathrooms out in a barn or something. There's no telling what's going to happen.
We've got a little bit of that. So let's jump into the instructor training. And I think that this is big because I remember going through this program for the union, and I don't remember what they call it. They called it like green building or something like that. Uh, but it's what the UA had, and this is probably, God, 20 years ago. But they were literally teaching, I'm going to call it lead, but it wasn't a complete lead program. They had written their own program to what they thought tradespeople needed to know, and I thought it was fantastic. But the green plumbing practices. So as green building codes expand, instructors must equip the next generation of plumbers with eco-friendly skills. And Randy, you've talked about a lot of these, so go through them and talk about what all you found here lately.
Yeah, some of the main focuses, like in the plumbing world, is where I went for this to do this doing the research. Is low flow fixture installations and the maintenance on those, being able to keep everything, go through, clean the parts out, things like that. Another one is gray water and rainwater harvesting systems. We've talked many times about off-grid and things like that, and how huge rainwater harvesting systems can be. This is becoming a normal thing on a lot of municipal projects and things like that that I see just in our area. Rainwater harvesting is becoming a huge thing, and gray water is also another one. But then also some energy efficient water heater technologies. You know, you've got you've got the old big tank, you've got tankless that we're going to now. You've also got what is it, condensing water heaters now. Depending on your area, different ones can be better and more beneficial. And those are some things to kind of look into. How do you like the water heaters that they've been coming out with?
I gotta tell you, it saves us money. They're adding more insulation to them, so there's a lot of good stuff. And the water heaters changed at the beginning of this year, so you need to look at new water heater codes and see how they affect you and what you can do about it. But you know, doing research yourself is amazing, but to me, you need to understand why. And I really think that we talked earlier in the week about the USGBC, the United States Green Building Council. And if you will look at their Green Associate program, it's a great way to get in and learn, and it's going to help you learn green techniques. It's going to help you learn water efficient technology, not just water, but building green, doing different things like that. So stuff like that is going to be huge, and it's just going to keep getting bigger. I remember when Brand Engineering built their main offices, they built it as a lead building. And since I was the only lead AP in the field there, I did a lot of the field work, laying it out, QA, QC, stuff like that, to make sure that we did everything we were supposed to hit our green numbers. That way, when it came time to get our lead certification, we could. And guys, it's only going to get more prevalent. The more and more people we get in the world every day, the more we're going to have to look at how do we conserve as much energy, water, and everything as we can. And things like that are going to be amazing.
Yeah, and then I think one of the best ways to pass that down is hands-on training, and then actually pass on some of the history of how some of these previous lead projects and green projects have made things better. Different ways that they're saving on energy, the reuse, how much water have they saved, things like that. Some of these things are huge.
I like that. And one thing I want to say about that is, imagine too, you don't have to be a lead AP. Every plumber on the job does. The reason I was doing QA QC, so I wanted to understand it. But if you look at it and say, okay, I'm a plumber on a lead project, what am I having to do different? What things am I having to look at? And when you focus on stuff like that, that's going to help you get more familiar with it from the get-go. And I think that that's only going to benefit anybody. Anytime you can work on a lead project, I highly recommend it. I think that it'll help you do a lot of things and help you grow.
Yeah, that's for sure. Just being involved in some of those projects and learning some of the things. You try to do things a little different at home, like your recycle bins, things like that. You just put a little more thought to it. And the more that happens to all of us, the more aware we all become.
What's neat too, Randy, is older buildings, retrofitting them. Because now you get into a specialty. And here's the thing about it, because we're not just retrofitting them, we're retrofitting them for energy efficiency technology. And the more you learn about it, the more you can do, it'll help. But retrofitting the plumbing system in older buildings is a how to man do the sustainability initiatives. A lot of people can get tax relief. They can get free money. They can get grants by building a green building, and doing things like that is going to help them. Uh, Replacing outdated water heaters with tankless systems is huge. Now, the thing to look at whenever you're looking at that is, are we going to have to upgrade the gas lines? What's the venting system going to look like? You're going to have to look at everything. But then you're also upgrading pipes to reduce leaks and improve water flow. To me, this is one of the biggest things because I think it's crazy if you're in a building, you're opening up the walls, you're opening up the floors, you're replacing the floor, but you're not changing the pipe out. Change out anything and everything that you have access to. If that's where you're trying to save money, I think it's going to come back and bite you in the tail in the long run. But then installing smart water meters to track your usage. I think it's amazing now that you can install a water heater that will let you know when you have a leak inside the house. And there's different products that do that, but literally you have a water heater that these new water heaters that communicate, they'll literally talk to the city and say, hey, we hadn't stopped spinning in 24 hours. And what that tells you is there's a leak somewhere, or there's a faucet running, a toilet running. But knowing things like that, it really does. It makes such a big difference. So Randy, what do you think the biggest challenge is in retrofitting the older systems? Because we jump in to do these retrofit jobs, but we don't always understand what kind of problems we're going to run into.
Well, yeah, and sometimes it's not always the perfect fit or solution, depending on, like, we're talking, water heaters here, going from an old tank water heater to a tankless. Well, sometimes the venting increase or the gas that isn't going to allow that, depending on what type of system or unit you're using. Uh, so something like that can make it difficult. It can add extra things that need to be done, or relocating sometimes, even in some situations that I've seen. Uh, so that truly does kind of make it difficult for people. And it's not always making it a feasible thing, or it's making it more difficult. But the savings in the long run, depending on how long they're going to be there, it really can make it worth the difference. So it's not worth just ruling out because, oh, it's harder to do now. Sometimes you are going to have to resize that gas line, but going ahead and doing that is going to help you in the long haul. And then those tankless water heaters, if you come home on that bad day and need a 2 hour hot shower, you can do it and it's not going to run out. And that's an amazing thing.
Yeah, that is the only problem about a tank water heater, that there's a limit as to how much water you can get out of it. But, you know, talking about this too, you've also got to be very creative sometimes when you're doing these retrofits. It wasn't built sometimes to install the things that we're trying to install. And, we were talking to one of the other YouTubers last night because I said there's certain things that I would do if I built a house right now, or a new building or anything. I would always have an electrical outlet at the toilets. That way, if I wanted bidet toilet seats, I could do that. And he asked me, he said, well, what about just putting in a normal bidet? Well, the reason he asked, we're here at a resort that there was a bidet in every room. And I literally told him, I said, look, my thing is, I like the bidet toilet seat better. You don't have to get up and go to another fixture. The new bidet toilet seats have heated seats, warm water, an air dryer. Got some of these new bidet toilets even that have it's a toilet that's got everything already built in. They have music, they have lighting, they have disinfectants, they have all kinds of different things. So the technology behind these new ones are great, but you need an electrical outlet there to use it. And then the other thing that I told him, if I was building a new house, I would make sure that I've got it plumbed for a whole house water filtration system. The other thing that really I thought about later after I walked off is maybe, depending on where you're at, gray water reclamation. Can you capture your rainwater harvesting and then your gray water, and then can you use that to water the grass with the drip irrigation? What can you do? And is there anything like this on a retrofit that you look at? How can we do something different here? And I think things like that are going to make all the difference in the world, and it's going to help you grow as a business because the more innovative you are, the more opportunities you're going to have, and the better you become at that specialty.
One of my aunt's favorites that she added in her new home is the pot fill at the oven. To have that fixture there and just be able to add water directly to the pot without having to drag that pot over to the kitchen sink, that's just she loves that. And she's like, yes, it saves me so much time. And carrying, like when I want to fill up a big pot of water, I don't want to have to carry that across the kitchen. So it's worked out well for her, and that's something that she would always suggest.
Good
So,
stuff.
all
All
right, yeah, let's move into the social media. We're having a little plumbing focus. Uh, we're going to talk about plumber parts. Okay, one of their recent videos is top 5 plumbing tools that you shouldn't live without in 2025. This is very relevant because it highlights the essential tools that save time and improve job quality. This is something that we like to do a lot too, because what do trades guys deal with every day? Tools. What's the most important thing to us? Tools that work and last. So being able to figure out what are these important tools, especially if you're first getting in, things like that, check out these videos. Check out social media to figure out the answers and things because guys, everybody's doing videos out there, but it's all mainly, I'm not going to say all of them. Some of them are trying to help, but most of them are trying to help and pass on the knowledge and information that they've done. And I always like picking the old man on the job. So you may pick the old social media person to watch because of their experience and their knowledge. They've dealt with more tools than most. Then the guy that got in 5 years ago, guess what? He hadn't used half the tools, I promise. But some of the old ways carry over into the new ways also and help you think from a different aspect. Like I used to say, I like to remove myself from the box and look back in. And I think working with a lot of the old guys kind of helped me be able to do that. Um, but then, what is the best way to create engaging plumbing content on social media for any newcomer?
I think that number one, you have to look at what's going on in the world today. What's trending? If I were a utility installer out in California right now, I'd be making videos about the fires going on because they are literally running out of water. They are turning on the fire hydrants and they are running so fast and so hard all over the state that they are emptying the reserves and it can't keep up. So I would be looking at how do we rebuild this infrastructure to make it where we don't have this problem in the future. California has fires, guys, that happens. And if they don't have enough resources to put those fires out, it's a sad, sad thing. So it's something that we need to look at and figure out what could be done there. How can we fix that? They've talked about rebuilding the power grid in Texas because of the problem that we had 4 years ago. Now, I don't think they've ever done it, but we'll see what happens. Things like that are going to be crazy. So you want to think of what's going on, what's trending, what's relevant, and make videos about that. But then you also want to start thinking about what are people looking for all the time? What do they need help with? And is it evergreen material? Is it something, one of our best videos is how to stop a running toilet guaranteed. So different things like that are going to be stuff that people are searching for. With us, the way we love helping plumbers, we make a lot of videos teaching plumbers how to do things. But we also talk to the DIYer, the homeowner, to show them why it's important that the plumber learns how to do that. And to me, things like that it's what makes it findable, and it literally helps us do different things.
Good.
Another good thing is the before and after photos, where you can show somebody, here's what it looked like before we got here, here's what it looked like after we got here. Time lapse videos. Now, we don't do a lot of time lapse videos because we don't do a lot of long project videos. But if you know me, I was literally up at 5:30 this morning, headed down to the beach to get a time lapse video of the sunrise. So things like that are neat. But then we're working on a lot of quick tips, quick videos that we can use to educate and entertain our audience to help them learn more. So to me, that's what social media is all about. It's education, it's entertainment, it's edutainment.
I like that. That's pretty good. Uh, installation videos, like you're saying, that's one of my favorites. Just kind of watching some installs. So if you've got some big installs, set up that time lapse. People love to watch that transformation. Uh, Remodels, I think, are just an amazing thing too. Because you look at that and then you watch it get tore out and then you watch it slowly get put back. It's an amazing thing and a very visual thing for a lot of people. It kind of reaches that broad audience.
Hmm. All right. Talk to me about some questions. What's the best warranty length for plumbing services? To me, it's the rest of your life. And man, if you trust your plumbers, if you like your plumbers, if you know they're doing things right, I think that's huge.
Yeah, that is. Like you said, lifetime on your labor. I think that's awesome. I know there's some things that you can't quite do that because, like, they're drained. It's never going to clog again or something. Like, there's some limits, but I think that that's huge. What do you think is the easiest way to get into public infrastructure plumbing projects?
No, I think the easiest way is going to be find a utility company. Find a company and they're normally listed as a water line utility company, something like that. I'm lucky. I've worked with companies that did that before, so I've got to run like got 10 and 12-inch big blue brew, pour the corners, pour the kickers, tap into lines, do live taps, install fire hydrants. It's a whole different line of work. But if you find a company that does stuff like that, it's fun to get in and learn because, man, you get to see how the water gets from the treatment center all the way to the house, not just, hey, there's a meter out there, you turn the meter on it, and here it is. So to me, stuff like that's big. But Randy, how can I make my plumbing company stand out in the remodeling market? Because that's something that a lot of people are trying to get into.
Like we've been talking all day about green and stuff, lean into that eco-friendly solution. More people are going to try to save in the future because everything's going up. We all know that. We all feel that at home, and it's consistently doing it. But try to lean into that eco-friendly solution. Bundle some services. That's a huge thing to give them those cost savings. And in that cost savings, that's what's going to help you stand out a little more on your plumbing remodels than most. Because it's like, yeah, I'm doing all this. Look here, I can do this too for just a little extra. And kind of assess the situation as it goes for each one. But pass that on and warranty that work too. Because then that's going to help the customers pass it on to their friends and things like that.
Pretty cool stuff.
So you had a plumbing company. What was the best way that y'all handled emergency calls?
You know what? We never got big enough that we had enough plumbers that we really wanted to focus on that. And guys, remember, there's nothing wrong with that. I've got a friend of mine that's got a company in Garland that he's had for, God, almost 40 years. And actually, got to say it's probably over 40 years now. But the truth is, he doesn't run emergency calls. He says, look, I just don't want to do it. So there's a lot of companies that do. But what you should look at and what you should think about is it something you want to do? Because then you've got to put your guys on a rotation. You've got to put them on call, and you need to pay people for that. You don't just say, hey, I want you to sit home all weekend. Don't go out. Don't drink. Don't do anything, and be ready to go to work if your phone rings. That's not fair. So things like that you need to look at and say, wait a minute. Is it really something we want to focus on? Is it really something we want to do? And then if so, you build a plan for it, make them work, put your guys on a rotation call, have people available in the evenings and on weekends, and that way, then you can do what you got to do. Stuart, this has been fun today. Go ahead and talk about Leak Pro, and let's shut this thing down.
Man, I'm Henry Wakefield with Leak Pro. We build the best equipment, the most simple to use for leak detection for plumbers, for maintenance guys, for irrigation specialists. We build it for all of you. It's simple, it's easy to use. If you want to check us out, go to www.leak-pro.com, or you can give me a call at 1-8888-LEAK-PRO and check it out. Do some research. We do training on site. I'm working on digital training in the future. That way we can meet people that can't come out to our facility. Uh, so that's work in progress. You get on there and check it out. Sign up for our newsletter.
Guys, this has been fun coming to you live from Punta Cana. I hope everything works out as well as it did this week. Next week, while I'm on the cruise, it's going to be interesting to see, but we're going to jump in. We're going to give it a try. And I'll have Colton and Randy in the studio in Wiley, Texas. So, guys, thank y'all very much. Have a wonderful weekend. Happy Friday to you.
Thank you, everybody. We'll see y'all Monday.